The King's Avatar, Chapter 1521 One Step Away, audio source, wushaworldaudiobook.com. Chapter 1521, One Step Away. Translator, Nomyami. Editor, Nomyami. The third round of the group arena soon began. On Happy's side was Mo Fan and his deception. On Tyranny's side was Zhang Jiale and Dazzling 100 Blossoms. He had sacrificed much to win over Yi Xiu. Dazzling 100 Blossoms had nearly no health or mana left. He had almost no combat capabilities. This fight would end without any suspense. Even so, Mo Fan played cautiously like he always did. When the round began, he didn't hurry to approach his opponent. However, with how small and simple the map was, even if he didn't hurry over, what else could he do? Chen Guo had been keeping up with the matches this season from up close. She also had many glory experts surrounding her, constantly giving her pointers. Her knowledge had improved day by day. Before the two had even begun fighting, she suddenly realized something. Picking this map might not be favorable for Tyranny facing Yi Xiu's unspecialized. However, this map would be used by every player participating in the group arena. Who else did Happy have besides Yi Xiu? Chen Guo obviously knew what Happy's lineup was for the group arena. After Mo Fan was Su Mucheng, then Fang Rui, and finally Tang Rou. Mo Fan's fireworks style required a lot of space to maneuver around in. As for Su Mucheng, the launcher's biggest strength was their ultra-long range. And for Fang Rui, the more complicated the terrain, the more opportunities he had to display his dirtiness. But the arena, there was nowhere to hide, and the map was small. Happy's three players would suffer because this map would restrict their playstyles to a certain extent. This was the complete reason behind Tyranny choosing the arena. Force Yi Xiu into an intense fight to exhaust him. And once Yi Xiu was gone, the arena would become Tyranny's advantage. Zhang Jiale wasn't able to survive for long and quickly left the stage. Tyranny's third player was Qin Miyun. Qin Miyun's -9 degrees was a sharpshooter. This map was slightly cramped for sharpshooters, but Qin Miyun was an expert at picking spots. In a wide open space without any obstructions, movement became crucial for attack and defense. Although Qin Miyun's class was restricted by this map, his exceptional talent at positioning was perfectly suited for this map. The others on Happy watched the match with solemn expressions. They had realized this point earlier than Chen Guo had. It was because of this that Chen Guo's plan wouldn't work out. Because Happy's next players would be restricted by this map, Yi Xiu could not afford to hold back. He had to do his utmost to win as big of a lead as possible for Happy to reduce the pressure on them. Yi Xiu had done an outstanding job. He had faced Lin Jingyan and Zhang Jiale, two formidable opponents, and nearly completed a 1v2. Happy had a one-player lead, but would it be enough to equalize the disadvantage that three of their players would face? The fight between Mo Fan and Qin Miyun began. Mo Fan didn't hurry to charge over, but Qin Miyun, -9 degrees, raised his gun and began firing immediately. His attack range could cover the distance between their two spawn points. The loud sounds of gunfire reverberated throughout the stadium. Mo Fan's deception moved nimbly about, trying to use his speed to get into Qin Miyun's dead angles. But what happened next gave everyone an even clearer understanding of Qin Miyun's ability to pick spots. The arena was considered unfavorable for long-ranged classes, but nevertheless, Qin Miyun was still able to freely kite around. -9 degrees wasn't just standing there, he was also moving. Every step of his matched deceptions. The distance between the two would sometimes decrease and sometimes increased, but after a few back and forths, it would always go back to what it was in the beginning. In an open map like the arena, it was a pure contest of who had better movement. and in this fight, it was obvious who was superior. Mo Fan had succeeded many times in escaping from huge chaotic battlefields in the game. He naturally had extraordinary skill in that domain, but there was a huge difference between a huge chaotic battlefield and a 1v1. Mo Fan had been trained in an unorthodox way, while Chin Mo-yun had trained under standard professional procedures. His ability to pick spots was detailed and meticulous. His every action was backed by clear logical reasoning. 10 years of glory, innovation and improvement had produced this fighting method, and Chin Mo-yun was executing it perfectly. Tyranny's players weren't just heroes who knew only how to fight fiercely. Chin Mo-yun, Song Qiang, the two talented rookies that had come from Tyranny, had the mark of their vice-captain, Zhang Xinji, careful and meticulous. Mo Fan was clearly losing in this contest of positioning. Compared to Chin Mo-yun's precise positioning, Mo Fan's positioning seemed right but was actually wrong. Oftentimes, he himself wouldn't know why he took that step. It had come to him instinctively out of habit. This was the biggest flaw of someone who had been trained in an unorthodox way, and it could clearly be seen through Mo Fan. Mo Fan quickly realized that he had no way of closing in on his opponent purely relying on his own movements. He could only try a few attacks. Ninjas had a few mid-ranged attacks, so when the distance between the two characters pulled a bit closer, Deception attacked. Shuriken. A shuriken was thrown. It was the ninja's lowest level ninja tool. It didn't deal much damage, but it inflicted a brief stun. As a result, it was very useful for interrupting skills. However, sharpshooter skills didn't have cast times, so the shuriken's threat was rather limited against them. Mo Fan's reason for choosing this skill wasn't at random. At this distance, even if the shuriken hit, the brief stun wouldn't be enough to give Mo Fan any sort of advantage, so it wouldn't pose a problem for Chin Mo-yun if he didn't have his -9 degrees dodge. Most people would make this judgment and ignore the shuriken. However, Glory was a game with very precise mechanics. The effects from a skill would vary depending on where it landed on the opponent. Mo Fan's deception through this shuriken, seeking this precise effect. His target was -9 degrees right wrist. During combat, the arms would often be moving, so the chances of hitting the wrist was extremely low. But for sharpshooters, their arms wouldn't move nearly as much as fighter classes who would be throwing out punches left and right. Mo Fan saw an opportunity and had Deception throw a shuriken. When a shuriken hit the wrist, the stun effect wouldn't affect the entire body, but the stun time would be longer. Sharpshooters used both their hands to fire their guns. A temporary stun on the wrist would be enough to create an opening for an attack. His reasoning was sound, and even when he threw out the shuriken, no one had seen through it. Throwing a shuriken towards the body and throwing a shuriken towards the wrist looked nearly identical. It was almost impossible to distinguish between the slight difference in angle. If Chin Mo-yun waited until after the shuriken before realizing it, it would be too late for him to dodge. Any ordinary person would not have been able to see through his calculations. When Deception suddenly attacked, Pan Lin got excited. But after shouting out the skill, wuxia-worldaudio.com, shuriken, his voice suddenly went from loud to quiet. The final Ken syllable exposed his disappointment. He clearly recognized that the attack was meaningless. Chin Mo-yun could completely ignore it and have -9 degrees continue attacking to punish Deception for his misplay. But to his surprise, Chin Mo-yun did not ignore it. -9 degrees kept attacking, but he also took a step to dodge the shuriken. Was that necessary? Pan Lin was in a daze. Even though dodging it didn't seem to take him much effort, this was a high-level confrontation. A wasted movement that seemed to not matter could be a sign of a deficiency in the details. Shin Mi-yun is being very cautious, Lee Yibo said. He hadn't noticed the trouble that Shuriken would have caused -9 degrees either. He was right though. In reality, Shin Mi-yun hadn't seen through Mo Fan's plan either, but he chose to dodge anyways out of caution. Since it didn't disrupt his tempo, he didn't care about a possibly wasted movement, so he dodged. A deficiency in the details. Being hit by the shuriken would have been a deficiency in the details. In comparison to getting hit by it, it would be better to take the initiative to react to it. The shuriken missed, and the dodge from Shin Mi-yun had been the right move. He didn't give Mo Fan an opening. Since his plan had failed, he could only force his way to Shin Mi-yun. Deception moved to the side, ready to rush forward. However, this slight movement to the side drew a reaction from Shin Mi-yun as well. -9 degrees took a step to the side, and from his new viewpoint, he could see Deception's hands. Hand seals. Deception was forming hand seals. He had attempted to hide his intentions by that slight movement to the side. Shin Mi-yun hadn't neglected this sort of ninja trick. He had his -9 degrees follow along. He noticed the hand seals, but he couldn't tell what ninjutsu Mo Fan was planning on using. In any case, getting away from his current position would not be wrong. -9 degrees continued to move. His aim was to find a new spot, where he could maintain the same type of suppression onto Deception. -9 degrees moved back, while Deception moved forward. Shadow clone technique. Mo Fan had wanted to use this skill to get close, but Shin Mi-yun had taken precautions. It was Mo Fan's first time getting this close to his target, but he was off by just one step. Just one step was enough for Shin Mi-yun to set up his wall again. The fourth round of the group arena ended in Tyranny's victory. End chapter. The King's Avatar. Chapter 1522 Snowflake Firing Line. Audio source, wuxia-world-audiobook.com. Chapter 1522 Snowflake Firing Line. Translator, Nomyami. Editor, Nomyami. A crushing defeat. Shin Mi-yun's playstyle might not have been as hot-blooded or as tough as Tyranny's fans would have liked, but winning with such dominance was still something that they enjoyed. Thunderous cheers greeted Mo Fan as he left his booth. It wasn't his first time fighting against Shin Mi-yun. Last time, it had been the group arena too. Shin Mi-yun's -9 degrees only had 11% of his health left, yet it took Mo Fan's Deception nearly half of his health to finish him off. It could be considered a loss for Mo Fan. This time, the two started the fight at equal health, and in the end, Mo Fan suffered a crushing defeat. 31%. Deception had only taken out 31% of -9 degrees health when he fell. Putting it nicely, you could call it 1/3 of his health. It was another loss against Shin Mi-yun. When he returned to his seat, hints of unhappiness could be seen in his usual poker face. Su-muchung, who could be considered as the person closest to him compared to everyone else on the team, patted his shoulders to console him. Mo Fan thought hard for a moment, but when he raised his head to say something, Su-muchung was already gone. "It's my turn," Su-muchung called out to everyone before heading over to the stage. She was Happy's next player in the group arena. Mo Fan stared blankly. He had just been about to say something, but, "Have you got any questions?" Mo Fan suddenly heard a voice from beside him. Mo Fan turned to look and saw Yishu looking at him. Mo Fan turned his head back. He seemed to be struggling whether he should speak or not. Yishu didn't say anything and simply waited patiently on the side. "What should I do?" Mo Fan didn't turn to look at Yishu, but he spoke up in the end. "Learn from him," Yishu replied. "And then I can beat him if I do that." Don't limit yourself to just the opponent. You have many opponents. The purpose of learning from him isn't purely to beat him, but for you to improve, so you can win more, Yi Zhu said. Qin Miyun could be considered a great wall for Mo Fan. The strengths that Qin Miyun had gained from going through tyranny's training camp were things that Mo Fan lacked. If Mo Fan could use what Qin Miyun had for himself, his individual prowess would improve considerably. Just take Qin Miyun's talent at positioning and movement. If Mo Fan could take those for himself, his fireworks style would certainly become more threatening. Yi Zhu hoped that Mo Fan could understand this point, but Mo Fan was giving him the silent treatment again. Yi Zhu waited for a long time, but seeing that Mo Fan didn't intend on speaking again, he didn't pursue it. Give it a try, Yi Zhu said before leaving. Mo Fan stared thoughtfully at the new round that was about to start. The fifth round of the group arena would be Su Mucheng versus Qin Miyun, a battle between gunners. The match began with the crisp sounds of gunshots and the loud sounds of cannon fire. As soon as the two entered the map, they began attacking their opponent from afar without needing to move. Launchers had a longer range than sharpshooters, but it didn't matter in the arena. Sharpshooters had a fast and explosive firing speed, so the gunfire from -9 degrees seemed denser and more concentrated. Sparks instantly blossomed all around Dancing Rain. As for -9 degrees, her first artillery shell had only just exploded. Even though the artillery shell dealt AoE damage, -9 degrees had already escaped cleanly from it, all while keeping up a continuous stream of attacks. Unfavorable. For Happy, this was not a favorable map for Su Mucheng. -9 degrees moved and attacked without pause. His attack and defense didn't interfere with each other. Compared to Dancing Rain, his advantages were much more threatening. Qin Miyun even moved his -9 degrees closer to her. Launchers need to play from a long range. But sharpshooters, at close range, they had gun fu. Pushing closer to Su Mucheng would put pressure on her. In this map, she didn't have any ways to pull apart the distance between them. The sharpshooter's gun fu might not be as sticky as other close-range classes, but the amount of space it controlled was much greater. What should she do? Mo Fan had just been asking himself what he should do, and now he started to worry for Su Mucheng. On the battlefield, a myriad of changes could happen in an instant. There was no time for her to wait patiently like Yi Zhu did when talking to Mo Fan. She needed to be decisive, and the answer she gave was burst. Dancing Rain's attacks suddenly sped up several notches. The explosions from her bombardment instantly swallowed -9 degrees. Qin Miyun hastily had -9 degrees move away, but it was as if he had some sort of blinking target light on him. No matter what he did, Dancing Rain's attacks followed -9 degrees closely, refusing to let go. Firing line? Some people could see it. This was the burst from a launcher's firing line, but how could she do it at this distance? The firing line's distance wasn't limited by the player's skill, but rather the slow attack speed of launches. At too close of a distance, launcher had no way of linking their attacks together. However, right now, it seemed like Dancing Rain was planning on breaking apart this predetermined limit. Why would she do this? Pan Lin was stunned. Li Yibo felt his head ache. He had a vague feeling that he needed time to think and organize his thoughts, but today, the group arena between Happy and Tyranny was moving at such a fast pace. By the time he finished organizing his thoughts, it would probably be the next round. No. Her distance isn't fixed. The pro players had more perceptive eyes. On Tyranny's side, Zhang Xinji figured out the reason. Some of the more minute details might skip over a normal viewer's eyes, but not Zhang Xinji. Soo-mu-chung is using burst skills for her first wave of attacks, borrowing the recoil to retreat. As she pulls away, she chooses skills that can link together to keep up a continuous offense. Quote, as a gunner, Zhang Jiale was extremely acute towards this area. It can be considered a cross-shaped firing line, where the horizontal axis can shift freely. Lin Jingyan said. It's not just that, Zhang Jiale said. Yes. Lin Jingyan could see it too. If it was a cross, it wouldn't be able to seal off Ma-Yun's movements. It's a variation using 3 overlapping firing lines. Zhang Jiale said. 3 overlapping lines. Like a snowflake. Lin Jingyan displayed his imaginative capabilities. Think of snowflake firing line. Pan Lin and Li Yibo were having a headache. In the meantime, tyranny had given Soo-mu-chung's technique a good name. The debate over whether Soo-mu-chung is a flower vase has reached an end. Zhang Xinji expressed. This sort of technique was a masterpiece born from a Louch's experience and intuition reaching the apex. It wasn't something that anyone could use. Didn't that debate come to an end a long time ago? Zhang Jiale was puzzled. No one in the pro circle thought of Soo-mu-chung as just a pretty face. There has always been debate over it, Zhang Xinji said. All right. Zhang Jiale didn't argue. He knew that this was Zhang Xinji's meticulousness at work. If you had to look at things from his view, it probably wasn't possible for a debate to ever end. WuxaWorldAudio.com. But this match, Lin Jingyan commented, the match wouldn't end just because of this. Soo-mu-chung's performance was outstanding, but unfortunately, there was a limit to how far Dancing Rain could retreat. Her attack tempo should be restricted soon. What if she goes again in reverse? Zhang Jiale said. If Soo-mu-chung's changing firing line could retreat, then it could advance. All she need to do was do things in reverse order. But after seeing their situation, Zhang Jiale found an answer. Ma-Yun has realized it. Yes, Qin Ma-Yun had noticed this possibility. His -9 degrees was being suppressed by the firing line, but his outstanding positioning negated much of the damage. He had avoided the attacks that would have interrupted his own offense. Qin Ma-Yun was tenaciously continuing his attacks despite the suppression from the launcher firing line. He kept up his pressure, waiting patiently for an opportunity. He had the same thoughts as the other tyranny players. He was aware of the problems that Soo-mu-chung would encounter. The end. For the arena, that was the farthest distance away from where Soo-mu-chung had been at initially. She's almost there. Qin Ma-Yun watched Dancing Rain's every step. Would she make any changes before then? Qin Ma-Yun didn't neglect this possibility. He made adjustments to prevent her from taking those options. Dancing Rain's only choice was to keep retreating. There. Dancing Rain made her last step. Her offense stopped there. Next it should be -9 degrees turn to counter-attack. Dancing Rain was cornered. Boom boom boom. Taking her final step, Dancing Rain gave one last burst. Soo-mu-chung clearly understood this point. At the last moment, she threw out everything she had. It's her final attack. Zhang Jiale sighed. Even though Soo-mu-chung was an opponent, he still felt sad about this one last burst. No. Quote, this time, Lin Jingyan felt something was wrong. What is it? Zhang Jiale had already relaxed. He wasn't as focused, so he hadn't caught it. -9 degrees doesn't have enough health. Han Wenqing, who hadn't joined in on the discussion, said. Everyone was stunned, including Qin Ma-Yun. Everyone had been paying close attention to Soo-mu-chung, Dancing Rain, her firing line, how many attacks she could make in this short amount of time. She played beautifully, but the map was too small. The distance was too short. This was the limit of what she could do. That was what everyone thought, and they couldn't help but sigh. But everyone had neglected the fact that this limit was enough. Because -9 degrees hadn't been at full health to begin with. He had lost 31% of his health to deception. From 69% to 0%, Dancing Rain was able to finish off -9 degrees with her final wave of attacks. We were tricked. The firing line before hadn't been her limit. She held back, so she could save up for this last final wave. Lin Jingyan said, "Don't forget about her craftiness. She was Yi Xi's best partner, after all," Han Wenqing noted. End chapter. The King's Avatar. Chapter 1523 2-second kill. Audio source, wuxia-world-audiobook.com. Chapter 1523 2-second kill. Translator, Nomyami. Editor, Nomyami. In the end, Qin Miyan wasn't able to defend against Su Mucheng's fierce assault. -9 degrees has fallen, and the winner of this round is Su Mucheng. Pan Lin announced the winner passionately, not knowing that Qin Miyan was in fact not far from winning. If only I had realized it just a bit earlier, if only I had been ready for it. Qin Miyan felt upset as he walked down from the stage. Along the way down, he greeted Tyranny's next player, their captain, Han Wenqing. Sorry. Quote, when Qin Miyan was still a few steps away, he stopped to apologize to Han Wenqing. Even we as spectators weren't aware of Su Mucheng's intentions. All of us underestimated her, Han Wenqing said. He wasn't consoling him, or finding an excuse for him. He was pushing the burden onto the entire team. Go back and get ready for the team competition, Han Wenqing said, and then continued onto the stage. Falling was nothing to fear as long as you immediately stood back up. Tyranny's members need this sort of backbone. Yes. Qin Miyan nodded his head and returned to the team. Tyranny's fourth player is their captain, Han Wenqing. Pan Lin shouted excitedly as the next round of the group arena began. How is Han? Pan Lin wasn't speaking slowly, but before he could even say 4 words, Han Wenqing's desert dust had rushed forward at an extremely fast speed. His clothing fluttered wildly as the wind flew past him. Desert dust swung his fist, followed by an enormous explosion. Desert dust had used his own fist to smash apart Dancing Rain's artillery shell. Ferocious Tiger Flurry. Pan Lin called out the skill name. Before this, he had wanted to say, how is Han Wenqing planning on facing Su Mucheng to start the match, but before he could even say 4 words, Han Wenqing answered his question. Ferocious Tiger Flurry. He started immediately with a level 70 skill. Even the normal players knew that this was a very rash and very wrong move choice. But this was the playoffs, the highest stage in competitive glory, and the King of Fighting, Desert Dust, chose to use such a move to start the match. Why was it not recommended to use a high-level skill to initiate the fight? Because even though high-level skills were powerful, if the skill missed, it would leave a huge opening for the opponent to take advantage of. As a result, low-level skills were often necessary as setup for high-level skills. Players would use their high-level skills when they were certain that it would hit. As a result, directly using a high-level skill was considered a rash move. However, when Han Wenqing, who had 10 years of glory experience, used it, no one thought of it in that way. What they saw was confidence. Confidence that his skill would definitely hit. The wind whistled like a tiger's roar as the punch flew out. Desert Dust rushed straight for Dancing Rain, piercing directly through her artillery shell, and swung his fist. A hit. Was there too little space in the group arena? No, no matter how little room there was, it wasn't to the point where the player could reach the opponent in just one step. Han Wenqing's unconventional move had been completely outside of Su Mucheng's expectations. While she was still sending out probing attacks, Han Wenking bared his fangs and mercilessly pounced onto her. It had been only 2 seconds since the start of the round. The king of fighting, Desert Dust, had closed in on Dancing Rain, and Ferocious Tiger Flurry had landed. In 2 seconds, Han Wenking had killed the match. It's over. Pan Lin announced the end of the match, but he didn't shout out the winner excitedly like he usually did. Instead, he just barely managed to squeeze out these few words. How much health did Dancing Rain have left? How much mana did Dancing Rain have left? Pan Lin had planned on slowly going over this information, but it turned out that none of it was important. Right now, Dancing Rain's health had turned to 0. The fight was already over. Pan Lin didn't know what to say. The pace of today's group arena was far outside of his expectations. No fight had lasted more than 2 minutes. Su Muchang left the player booth. Her expression wasn't light-hearted at all. Yishu had given Happy a nearly 1-player lead, but Mo Fan's crushing defeat lost half of that lead. Su Muchang finished off Chen Muyun quite cleanly, but as soon as Han Wenking came onto the stage, he thoroughly wiped away Happy's lead. Happy and Tyranny both had 2 players remarrying. Although Han Wenking's Desert Dust had just fought a round, he had lost a negligible amount of health. After fulfilling their purpose of exhausting Yishu, Han Wenking personally pulled the group arena back to the starting line. Moreover, Happy's next player would be restricted by the map. Fang Rui. He had no terrain to utilize. Solely relying on technique, his dirty playstyle might have some effect on rookies, but against Han Wenking. Han Wenking may not be as all-around as Yishu, but the hardships he had gone through weren't any less than Yishu. My turn, Fang Rui said. As he walked onto the stage, he passed by Su Muchang. The two simply nodded their heads as greetings. The fast-patched fights in today's group arena made it so the players were constantly switching in and out. One player came onto the stage, and then before they could be satisfied, the next player came onto the stage. The 7th round of the group arena, Fang Rui vs Han Wenking, Chi Master Boundless Sea vs Striker Desert Dust. It was a confrontation between 2 fighters, but the playstyles of the players were complete opposites. Fang Rui with his dirty tricks versus Han Wenking with his aggressive attacks. Tyranny's fans obviously detested Fang Rui's playstyle. To them, Fang Rui's playstyle was heresy. In their eyes, this fight was to annihilate this heretic. The atmosphere in the stadium suddenly turned ablaze. The match began. It was a simple map, and the characters quickly loaded in. As soon as the match began, Boundless Sea immediately rolled. This was to prevent Han Wenking from initiating the same way he did last time. But this time, Han Wenking's Desert Dust didn't move. Boundless Sea rolling away made him look like a startled mouse. The crowd burst into laughter. Compared to Desert Dust, who stood there straight as a javelin, Boundless Sea looked too hilarious. Fang Rui didn't care though. If Desert Dust wasn't going to move, then he should continue moving. Boundless Sea spun round and round, rolling several times. Desert Dust turned around, his gaze fixed onto Boundless Sea. Fang Rui was feeling annoyed. This stupid map wasn't suitable for his usual methods of attack, and just relying on his own movements to get into Han Wenking's dead angles was simply impossible. Boundless Sea made a few turns, but not a single opening could be found on Desert Dust. Boundless Sea turned towards another direction. Suddenly, Desert Dust took a step. The viewers didn't think much of it, but this one step made Fang Rui feel extremely uncomfortable. The group arena was so small. A single step could change the amount of space a character grasped. Desert Dust's step had been timed precisely, restricting the amount of space that Boundless Sea could move around in. No matter how experienced Han Wenking was, he shouldn't have been able to find his weak point that fast. "Old Lin, you sold me out." Quote. A message suddenly popped up in the chat. Everyone was stunned. Then, they realized that Old Lin was probably referring to Lin Jingyan. WuxaWorldAudio.com. Lin Jingyan understood Fang Rui well. Even if Fang Rui had changed classes, the person who understood Fang Rui the most was still Lin Jingyan. And Lin Jingyan's understanding became Tyranny's understanding. Right now, he wasn't Fang Rui's teammate, but his opponent. Yes, opponent. Fang Rui sounded as if he were in the right. It left everyone speechless. What's more, Lin Jingyan was sitting on the sides. Had he been hoping for Lin Jingyan to reply back? The crowd laughed heartlessly at Fang Rui, but then, Boundless Sea suddenly acted. How despicable! How crafty! Everyone gasped in surprise. Those words were actually just as a distraction. His sudden but reasonable words. Chi bullet, flash burst. Boundless Sea chained together two skills. The Chi bullet in the front blocked Desert Dust's line of sight. The flash burst was only the size of a finger, but the condensed Chi would pierce through everything. Desert Dust didn't dodge. He unexpectedly stepped forward. The Chi bullet reached Desert Dust's face. This skill didn't deal that much damage, but with Fang Rui shooting it right at his eyes, how many people wouldn't try to dodge it instinctively? Han Wenking didn't. Desert Dust didn't shift in the slightest. He stepped straight forward at the shortest distance and at the fastest speed. The Chi bullet exploded, and the flash burst arrived, but in the blink of an eye, the Chi dispersed. Boundless Sea's right hand had been grabbed by Desert Dust. Empty-handed blade block. Han Wenking had unexpectedly used a dismantle skill despite not being able to see and accurately grabbed Boundless Sea's hand. For fighters, their hands were their weapons. Gloves and claws were worn on the hand. Dismantle, a block and then a grab. It was enforced by the system. If the block succeed, the grab would be guaranteed as a follow-up. Desert Dust elbowed Boundless Sea's chest and then followed with a flurry of punches and kicks. Both were fighter classes, but Chi masters couldn't compare to strikers at close range. Boundless Sea covered his head, trying to scurry away. He whirled and spun around, rolling and flipping. The crowd laughed loudly. Just when they were having fun, Desert Dust's offense suddenly stopped. Boundless Sea had actually escaped from the combo. Everyone was dumbfounded. They hadn't noticed any openings in Desert Dust's combo, but all of a sudden, Boundless Sea seemed to have pushed him away, interrupting Desert Dust's combo. Being oppressed like that isn't carefree at all. Fang Rui typed in the chat. Carefree. The crowd laughed. That word didn't seem to have any relationship with someone as dirty as you. No. End chapter.